To Eeks living, where we shine so bright. She goes the host, making everything feel just right. Love, laughter, and glow, that's what we're all about. Come on, join our family, let's read and shine. Games and challenges, excitement in the air. Friends and guests joining us everywhere from
Mental wellness. What comes to your mind when you hear of mental wellness? Everywhere on social media, you will find people discussing or talking about mental wellness, mental health. And most of the time, we're just throwing around that word without really understanding the meaning of it, or what has caused such a menace at the workplace and wherever we are. And now we're also dealing with the young generation at the workplace. Currently in Kenya, we are dealing with the Gen Zs who have shown us that they can literally revolutionize everything around us. Now we want to discuss them at the workplace, because I know we have a differential in terms of generations, and there are those that feel that they are left out, those that feel that they don't understand them, and also the Gen Zs feel that they are not being understood. So today we want to discuss more and break down about the workplace and how to be healthy at the workplace. Kindly let me introduce to you my guest today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And actually, someone will ask what's the difference between mental wellness and mental health.
Mhm.
And I'm privileged to be here on the show today.
Yeah.
And my name is Kevin Nandwa. I'm a HR practitioner, currently serving as a HR manager. Uh, um, and I'm more privileged to be in this show to discuss this particular topic, given my field of professionalism.
Yeah.
So welcome viewers to this show,
Mhm.
and I'm glad to interact with you, share the knowledge, and know the way to go about this topic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Just as you've stated, let's discuss the difference. What's the difference between the two?
Here's where we call it, there's a thin line between the two. um, Mental health is state of the state of the well-being of the mind, and mental wellness is the achievement of positivity in the mental well-being. Okay,
Yeah.
so basically, in a layman's language, that is how you'll put it, and that is how you'll differentiate between the two. Mental health is wide and very wide, and that's why we'll not tackle it today. That's why we'll focus on the mental wellness. And mental wellness is more than just the mental illness.
Yeah.
Mental wellness is about positivity in the mind. That's what differentiates between mental health and mental wellness.
Yeah. So before we get in to the workplace, when you mention anything to do with either mental wellness, mental illness, mental health, immediately people jump to familiar. People think it's family related. When it comes to you men, people say unajua baby anampea stress. So people really never associate the mental wellness to do with work. So perhaps you could talk more on that.
It is very true. People will tend to be judgmental on an individual when it comes to their mental wellness, forgetting that the mental wellness is all about an individual's surroundings, the workplace, the environment itself. And when you look deeper into the mental wellness of an individual at the workplace, it touches base on the definition of the workplace itself. How do we define the workplace? And that brings the question of the modern workplace. What is the modern workplace like? The modern workplace is mixed up with very many things: finances, hierarchy, protocol, procedures, processes, characters, as in that is a blend of just the workplace, and that is how we can define the workplace currently.
Yeah.
And if an individual is not able to define the workplace with the current setup, how modern it is, they will not understand the well-being of
Yeah.
an individual at the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how I would put it.
Yeah.
And as we sit down to talk about mental wellness of an individual, we need to look at all the factors that are coming into play in terms of an individual. As I've earlier stated in the beginning, the definition of a workplace. The mental wellness of an individual will be affected by the finances.
Yeah.
Secondly, can be affected by the generational gap, of which we are also going to touch base on. Touches based on the type of work an individual performs at work. So those are some of the factors that affect the well-being of an individual at work.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the generational gap, is what currently we are looking at the Gen Zs. Someone will ask, who are these Gen Zs and who are the other generational?
Yeah.
When we look at it, the generational gap in the workplace, one of them currently, you'll find a very small percentage of them at work.
Yeah.
And that is the traditionalists who existed way back in between 1926 and 1945. Those ones were motivated by the World War that time. You'll hear these individuals say, during the war we had these,
Yes.
we used to do this like this.
Yeah.
That's how these individuals will bring up a topic at the workplace. Now we come to the baby boomers. The baby boomers will start off between the 1946 to around 1960. These are the people, they are slow at work. Sorry to say this, but in most government offices, you'll find that slowness, the kind of culture is taking place in such a slow. That is the kind of generational, the generation that existed during or exists in with that kind of portfolio. And then we have to have the generation X, which came in from 1960 to 1980. This type of the generation is the type of generation will come to work and they'll be like, we are used to doing it this way. This is how we do it.
Yes.
This is how we do it.
Yeah.
After that, we do have the generation, the millennials. Millennials come in between 1980 to around, the year 2000. That is what the millennials are. And this type of generation at the workplace are like, huyu mtoto amekuja hapa juzi anataka kutuonesha is the type of
Anataka kututisha.
anataka kutuonesha nini na sisi is the type of generation of that group of generation. Then we have now the generation Z, which is now the talk of town everywhere.
Yes.
The generation Z are the type of people who will come to work and tell you, kana hiyo kazi yako nitaenda niuze maembe nipate kitu. Now they are like, Generation Z are like explorers. They will move out. They are fearless. They're after achievement, and it's such a good blend of generations if you have them at the workplace.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk of these different generations, and as I had earlier started off with the generations, with the traditionalists, it's very hard for you to find them in the workplace. It's a bit hard. You will find them, but it's a bit hard to find them. The guys between 1926 and 1945, that generation is a very minimal generation in the workplace. Like there's one guy who retired just a few weeks ago from is it KFC or one of those big brands. Starbucks, not Starbucks, KFC. I think it should be KFC. He had worked there for almost 30 something years. he is part of that
Yeah.
crew that left. So
Yeah.
right now it's very hard to find. Now, what I was saying is that with this mix of these generational, the mix of these generations, when you do have um, all these generations mixed up in one organization or institution, the blending of these generations, there's always a friction in terms of processes,
Yeah.
achievement of tasks, because of the difference in the way they handle things. And you'll find that the friction that comes in between these generation gaps in the workplace, these are some of the things that will cause a negative impact on the well-being of an individual at the workplace. And more so specifically, the younger generations will always be affected very faster than the older generation. The older generation have adopted to the different ways of working, the different work, the job politics at work. They are already versed with all that in the job market. And therefore that difference will bring in all a negative effect on the well-being of an individual. And when you look at it very well, most people that are affected at the workplace in terms of their well-being are the Gen Zs and the millennials. A good percentage of them. A good percentage of them are affected because of the interaction in terms of the generational gap. Besides that, we also have the thing that is making these two generations suffer a lot in the workplace is also in terms of the advancement in technologies. You'll find that some millennials will find it a bit hard coping compared to the Gen Zs. Gen Zs will be very fast. They'll get into their phone, they're tech savvy, very fast, get into it, Google it, and get the job done as fast as. Right now we are talking about AI. They will get in, ask him to come up with an article in 2 or 3 minutes. AI has completed that. By the time the millennial
He's catching up.
the millennial or even the generation X are catching up, this guy is already outshining. And by this guy outshining these other generations, at the workplace will be, why is this guy coming here to show us how to do it? So those are the things that bring in all these conflicts at the workplace, besides also the job politics also. And that's how we can look at it. Yeah.
So now, having established that there are all these generational gaps, how do we bridge this gap? Because it's definitely going to be there. How do we bridge it?
I would look at it in bridging the generation gap and the conflicts that arise with the generational gap at the workplace. I would look at it like, let's say, in the house, the fights between two ladies in the house, and the two ladies is the mother and a daughter. Now, when you look at these fights in the house, mostly, the mother will always be like, I want you dressed in this particular way before you go out. And the daughter, actually, there's a specific meme video in the internet that goes around like, it's a meme video. The mother is like, how are you dressed like that going to a function? And the daughter replies like, everyone is dressed like this. They're dressed skimpily, like very, very skimpily. You can't expect someone to dress like that. But it's understandable for their generation. So what does the mother do? Calls up the dad. Please come down. There's a problem we need to sort. She says she's going to leave like that from the house. And what the two parents do is both of them go dress exactly the way she has dressed. All of them wear the short pants, skimpy dressing, and they walk out so that they can embarrass. Now, what does that tell you between the fight between these two generations? One is about communication. Does this older generation or does this younger generation communicate to the other on what is to be done? if the communication has been done, how has it been done? Is it effective? So basically, one of the channels of going about this generational gap and the fights in the workplace is, first of all, ensuring there's a streamlined communication channel. There's a proper structure at work. And when you talk about proper structure, there's one of these generations will overlook the structure. They will tell you, I don't care about the structure. If I want to talk to the CEO, I'll go talk to him. If I want to, I will send them an SMS. I will send them a WhatsApp, and I'll get in touch with them. They will put you like, okay, fine. You're telling me about hierarchy, but I can get in touch with the CEO if I want to. So sometimes when you look at these measures on how to bridge that gap, you need to be careful on how you're going about it, and basically you need to be strategic on how you're implementing the gap between these two generations. And that is how you communicate, how you communicate, whom you communicate to, and when you communicate. And this also brings in the question of emotional intelligence. How do you go about emotional intelligence? First of all, you need to understand the feelings surrounding yourself, the feelings surrounding this other person, and how the two blend. That's all about emotional intelligence. Those are the ways that you will be able to bridge the gap between all these generations at the workplace. Yeah.
So now, we're also talking about, as much as we're also talking about a young generation.
Yeah.
Of course, now them having saying that unajua anataka kuwa CEO direct. I'm going to do all these things. So they get frustrated if they're not allowed to do this. So how do we get to really marry the two, the rules at work, and of course without closing in the ideas, because they definitely coming up with new ideas. How do we bring in the rules to them and for them to be receptive, and how do we as millennials and the other generational gaps, how do we get to work well?
It's for me in my profession, I find it very easy on how to go about it. And besides being in the HR field on how to go about this, it also brings in the question of leadership at the workplace and the work culture. Um, for us to incorporate these new generation and the younger generation into the workplace and into the culture, first of all, we also need to understand something else. There's something we usually in the workplace, we usually say that the rules are made by man, and they can also be bent. That's although I wouldn't advocate for bending of rules, but basically what that phrase I would interpret it is that sometimes, yes, we come up with rules and regulations on how to do things, but are we ready to amend them to suit the needs of today? Because you'll find most of the workplaces, most institutions, they're working with rules and regulations and policies which were drafted a long time ago. So how do we incorporate this younger generation is, first of all, positive engagement with them. Okay? Give them the opportunity to come up with new ideas, and give them the chance to express themselves. This is not the type of generation to close inside a bottle and seal it. The bottle will explode. The only generation that you could have done that is the traditionalists. The ones I was mentioning, the ones between 1926 to 1945, because those ones were the type of generation that would obey the hierarchy and be there to listen. But with this one, it will be a catastrophe at the workplace. So incorporate the ideas, give them the opportunity to speak up, give them the opportunity to express themselves, and even as you give them that platform, you should not react emotionally in terms of addressing their issues. Like, I'll give an example. Like, you'll find a situation at one point that uh, at the workplace, guys usually make fun of the HRs. They say that HR has sent an anonymous survey. Kindly, it is anonymous. You'll not be known. And then the next thing you see, someone has been frog mashed by the HR outside the institution now because of a
Yeah,
survey.
yeah.
Okay, it's a joke that guys make it out there. But what basically I'm trying to say is that uh, while this type or group of individuals come up with suggestions, new ideas of coming up with things, you should not be on the forefront to victimize, but you should be on the forefront to listen and adopt. And adopting does not mean you bend too low and incorporate everything.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Adopting means you get their ideas, bring it to the table, scrutinize it, see whether it best fits, and see what you can pick and what you cannot pick, and blend it with the older versions of what you intend to rectify. That is how positively you can engage
Yeah.
this particular group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, as much as we are talking about mental wellness, yeah,
Mhm.
there could be someone watching and they're wondering,
Mhm.
how do we identify that someone is not well? What are some even of the triggers that maybe you as an HR would notice at your workplace and you'd say, this person is not okay?
There are some various indicators that will give you someone's well-being in a nutshell.
Yes.
And one of the indicators that will uh, will maybe give you an indication of the well-being of an individual is on productivity. You know, there are some people who will come to work from 8 to 6, and there's someone who will tell you, Kevin, I need to come to work at 8, but please allow me to leave at 12. Those are two totally different people.
Yeah.
Two totally different. Someone will come in and work for 3 or 4 hours, and someone who will come and clock in at 8 and leave at 6. Two totally different. Why am I saying different? Because you'll find this individual who comes for 3 or 4 hours of work, they will come up with the reports, prepare the team, come up with the results of what needs to be achieved, submit it to the management, uh, leave instructions behind on what needs to be done, and basically at the end of the day, their job is done. Whereas this person who is at work for 8 hours of the day,
Yeah.
they came, got to their desk, logged onto the YouTube, put a playlist, went to chatting mode for 3-4 hours, went for lunch 1 hour, came back, and at the end of the day, there's nothing they've done.
Yeah.
You know, these two people are trying to communicate something that we need to react to. How about their productivity? How productive is an individual? And the other thing that is an indicator is behavior.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm very passionate about organizational change and behavior. I'm very passionate about that. I love studying human behavior a lot. Behavior is another indicator to show whether this person, the well-being of this person, is good or not.
Yeah.
The way Kevin comes to work in the morning on Monday and the way they come on a Friday communicates a lot.
Yeah.
What's happening? Why are they coming in dressed in this particular way? Why are they coming in speaking to other people in this particular way? Why are they coming to work? And despite having worked from morning to evening, the entire week or the entire month, the relationships between them and the other colleagues is lowering. Why? We need to look at such kind of things. So those are the things that will trigger and tell you whether the well-being of this individual is good or bad. Yes. And trust you me, someone can pretend to be good. I'll give an example of an alcoholic. When alcoholics go sit somewhere, they'll say, I am not an alcoholic. But you'll find this person in the morning taking a sip. They say kutoa lock. They say that. In the morning before they go to work, they take something. During work hours, they do take something. And actually, in most organizations, you'll find individuals with these trending bottles, water bottles nowadays. You'll find some whiskey inside there. The individual is drinking throughout the day. And you'll find this person very hyper the entire day. And you're like, why is this person always hyper all the time? So when you look at those indicators, you'll come to analyze an individual based on all those factors, just as I've mentioned, and get to understand. When you sit down with an individual, that's when you get to understand what they are going through, and they'll be able to expound for you to tell.
Okay. We'll take a short commercial break, and when we come back, we'll also expound more even on social media platforms and how they affect workplace and all the effects they have on the young people and all the other generations.
To Eeks living, where we shine so bright. She goes the host, making everything feel just right. Love, laughter, and glow, that's what we're all about. Come on, join our family, let's rain and shine. Games and challenges, excitement in the air. Friends and guests joining us everywhere.
So next umesema tunaenda social media.
And then tumalizie tu na work balance, work life balance.
Okay.
How do we balance everything?
Okay.
Welcome back to the show. Before we went on the break, Kevin, I was touching on social media. It's something that we cannot not discuss it. Because like we are saying about bridging the young generation at work, now we have TikTok. It's something that every young person has, and every young person wants to capture what it is that they are doing on their daily lives, no matter what their work stipulates. So how do we balance the two? How does the employer understand that maybe this TikTok might actually bring in the clients to whatever business that they are in, and at the same time understand that it's not wasting time? How do we even bring in this young person to understand that yes, you may use your TikTok, but there are places and all these are clear line that you cannot cross?
When we say there's a thin line between this and that, now between marketing and social media, is there even a line? Because I hardly doubt if there is any line between social media and advertising of the company. Now, why am I saying that is because I'll give, for example, a marketing agency having young turks in the institution. And then the CEO walks in and everyone is on their phone all the time. And most of them are usually with both fingers on the phones, and they're like tweeting. And so the CEO walks in, or the marketing manager walks in and finds everyone on the phone. And yet the HR on the other end has said, no phones at work. You're a marketing agency. What will you do? That those are some of the questions that the current workplace is facing. And you see, when we look at the well-being of an individual in the institution and social media, you'll find that an individual, everyone has their own ways of expressing their grievances, their emotions. Sometimes you'll find someone throughout on their phone on social media. Most of them are usually called keyboard warriors because they express their angers through comments on social media. You'll find someone commenting something very negative. That also portrays the well-being of this particular individual. Now, in the workplace with this social media, how do you differentiate between advertising, marketing, social media usage, and this generation and policies in the workplace?
Yeah.
It becomes very difficult because, especially for the management, where you'll find uh, Kevin is on Instagram, has posted himself with the company logo, advertising the institution, but it is working hours. You're even thrown in. It is a Pandora box.
Yeah.
What do you do? This individual is bringing in clients in the institution, but they are using social media during working hours. What do I do? Like, everyone is torn in between. That's why in before the commercial break, we were talking about ways of incorporating this newer generation into on ways on how to work with the current systems, with the current technology. We need to sit down and talk. Fine, you're using TikTok, you're using Instagram, social media, all those platforms for work purposes. But can we sit down and limit at what time? Two, we need to sit down and check, have we aligned the processes and the procedures of how to use them? Or is it a blanket rule in the institution, do not use? Have you gone beyond the do not use and checked on how can we use? Those are some of the things that we need to look at in terms of this social media usage. Instead of putting down policies of do not, can we sit down and discuss or come up with newer policies and check on how do we incorporate this particular technology or this particular idea into the current workplace? And the only way to do that is involving this newer generation on how to do it. Conversation, having a conversation.
Yes.
And having a conversation means you should be ready to listen. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how to go about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So it's your take that companies and bosses really need to listen to these people. If we need to move on one course, we really need to be open to the new ideas that are coming in. We need to be open to, these young people with the ideas that they have. We need to sit down and have a conversation. You believe it is possible to have a conversation and be on the same page?
My take is on proper leadership, not just listening alone, but proper leadership. When we talk about leadership, entails so much. When you Google in what are the qualities of a good leader, you'll find them. But one of the most important aspects in leadership is listening. When you walk into a boardroom or any other platform that we have a gathering where there's a leader in there, the first question you'll ask yourself, why is it that uh, all these individuals at the table are speaking, and the last person to give a word is usually the leader? Why? And it points to one thing: listening. The leader will not give guidance if they've not listened to the rest of the team members. They have to listen. And um, sometimes in a situation, you'll find that the leader will react to it emotionally based on the circumstance or the situation or the topic which is being discussed. But with most leaders, regardless of whatever is happening, their reaction will communicate to the team that they have bought in the idea, they've listened, they're ready to sit down, and they're going to implement. They give hope to the team. And that is what is exactly that needs to be done. That um, there needs to be a sense of hope that there's going to be positivity through listening. Yes, that is how we can uh, ensure that there's effectiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So as we come to the end of the show,
Yeah.
I cannot end the show without asking how do we, and this cuts across no matter which generation you belong to,
Yeah.
how do we balance, life and work? Generally, how do we balance and maintain, mental wellness at work, mental wellness in whatever that we do? Because as you said, this is a broad topic that needs even another episode where we get to discuss this.
Yeah.
But if you could answer that.
Um, Actually, when work-life balance is also another home of topics
Yeah.
to look at.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, um, work-life balance sometimes is usually a bit, a bit ambiguous when you tell someone check on your work-life balance, because someone will ask you, I need to pay rent, I need to pay my taxes, I need to pay school fees, so I need that extra income. And the only extra income, the only way they can get an extra income is working extra hours. So the thing we need to ask over time is work-life balance a fallacy? Anyway, that's food for thought for the
Yeah.
viewers
Yes.
and everyone.
Yeah.
But work-life balance, uh, of course, at the end of the day, affects the well-being of an individual.
Yeah.
And when we look at work-life balance, as an individual, what you need to, first of all, you need to do, the first priority is, I would put it this way: chew what you can swallow. What do I mean by chew what you can swallow? Do not come up with targets which you cannot achieve.
Yeah.
Do not promise your boss, I'll be able to deliver this within this time frame, and yet you cannot deliver it. Not let alone even the time frame, you cannot even deliver. You usually see a lot of jokes in the internet like, I applied for aeronautical engineering and yet I have done catering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that
It doesn't even
yeah,
make sense.
you don't do that. You
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Chew what you can
Swallow.
swallow. Give practical and reasonable targets which you can achieve. And why am I saying that? It will enable you achieve your tasks on time, and you'll be able to have your personal life now comfortably.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier in the conversation, we all react to things differently. I may be able to work even 13 hours and I need 7 hours of rest. Someone will work 5 hours and they'll need 3 hours of rest. We are all different. We have our different, can I say, different boiling points. What you need to do is remember to chew what you can swallow. What you can achieve only, that is what you go for.
Yeah.
That is the only way you can maintain your work-life balance. Um, Work-life balance, again, something else.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you happy at work? What makes you happy at home? What makes you happy as an individual? Happiness is your own responsibility. Don't expect your boss to come and make you happy, your colleague to come and make you happy. You're responsible. Or even your spouse is not responsible for making you happy.
Yeah.
You're the one who is responsible for your happiness. If going to the gym will make you happy, do it. If leaving at work at 5 makes you happy, do it. If grabbing the kids and going out on vacation, you and the kids only, makes you happy, do it. If at all working to a certain extent and being assertive, actually you need to differentiate between assertiveness and aggressiveness at work, because being aggressive at work will make you get
Yeah,
fired.
fired.
So to what extent do you do this particular work? To what extent do you interact with your colleagues? Those are the things that you need to define in terms of your happiness. And all these things boil down to the work-life balance. Because you'll find someone carrying things from work to home and from home to work. Most of the time when we have staff briefings, we usually tell our colleagues that what you need to do is please leave your bedroom at the office gate. Let your bedroom stay there. You'll pick it when you go
when
back
you go
home.
back
Yes,
home.
yes. Don't bring it to work.
Yeah.
So you need to have a separation of those things. And when I talk about separation, there's usually this difference between men and women on how one gender operates with everything in one box, and the other gender operates things in different boxes in the head. Okay? This one with one box at one point comes and crashes and everything is out of hand. But this one will operate with this box, closes this matter, goes to another
one.
Those differences at work also come into play, and we need to get to understand these differences and accept ourselves for us to understand work-life balance and the well-being of an individual at work. Yes, yes.
Mr. Kevin, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am sure our viewers have learned a thing or two, especially at work. Maybe if these are both somewhere struggling to understand his younger employees, they have some knowledge now of how to cope with everything. Thank you so much for your time and finding time to, come in and talk about this. I can promise you'll be our guest many and many more times because we have quite a lot of things to discuss. And may God bless you for this one.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for always returning every week, for all the support you're giving to the show. It doesn't go unnoticed. Follow us on all our socials. On Facebook, it's Rachel Shiko Moshina. On TikTok, it's African Source. Instagram, Rachel Shiko Moshina. And of course, on YouTube, Eeks Living. Kindly share with your friends, family. Let's grow the community. The more we are, the more guests we are able to bring. And of course, continue sending in the topics that you'll be interested in us to discuss, maybe the guests that you'll be interested in. And in case you feel like you want to offer any support to the show, we are going to leave the number where you can reach us. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye.
To Eeks living, where we shine so bright. She goes the whole